data binding mechanism comprised in the class named binding. It can be used in C# code, but almost always you will use it in XAML as a markup extension. The most useful properties of this type are source, which defines a source object, path, which defines a path to a source property which belongs to the object referenced in the source binding property. For example, a source property can point on an instance of type student, and path can point to its, say, name property. Element name. Element name has the same meaning as the source property. The only difference is that element name is used for referring to named UI elements defined in XAML. Mode. It defines a binding mode, which could be one of the following: one-way, two-way, one-way to source, and default. Default option is a little bit slick. If you apply binding to a certain UI element with this mode, that binding will use the mode which is defined by that UI element as a default mode. For example, text box defines two-way mode as its default binding mode. Text block defines one-way mode as a default. It's much better to never rely on a default mode, always define binding mode explicitly. One-way mode is a mode when updates go only in one direction, from the source to the target, e.g. from the source property address of a person class to the target text property of a text block. Two-way mode is a mode when updates go in both directions, from the source to the target and vice versa. One-way to source mode is the same mode as one-way, but the other way around. Updates go from the target to the source. We will address some additional valuable features along the next practical lecture. Let's have a look at a basic data binding scenario.